ain't just. Skies will break and seas will rise defying. Hold the light in times of shadows dusk. Watchman song through night's unending sighing. Truth will guide where there is nothing just.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Watchman News, where we keep our eyes peeled and our minds, well, let's just say we keep them entertained. Tonight, we're diving into the great American pastime of conspiracy theorizing. I know I can't say it right, but with a topic that'll make you question everything. Who's really in control of this circus we call the United States? Now, let's start with the obvious, shall we? The president, right? Joe Biden, the current guy, with his grandpa charm and his ability to turn any press conference into a blooper reel. But come on, we all know he's not the puppet master. He's more like the puppet who occasionally forgets his lines, so who pulls the strings? Some say it's the deep state. Oh, the deep state. Sounds like something you'd find in a James Bond villain's lair, doesn't it? A bunch of shadowy figures in suits sipping on martinis plotting world domination while sitting on leather chairs that spin really well. But let's be real. If there was a deep state, they'd have better PR. Then there's the Illuminati. Yes, the Illuminati, because nothing says I'm in control like a pyramid with an eye on it. I mean, if you've got time to design that logo, you've clearly got time to control global politics. But if they're all so powerful, then why haven't they fixed the traffic in LA yet? Corporate America. Now that's an interesting suspect. You've got CEOs with more money than sense, buying up everything from your groceries to your government. But imagine Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk trying to control the country. One's trying to get us to Mars, and the other's selling us everything from A to Z. I'm pretty sure they just automate the presidency with an AI by now. Oh, and let's not forget aliens. Now we're talking. They've been here since Roswell, right? They've got the tech, they've got the motivation, they just want our cows, apparently. But if aliens are in control, why are they so interested in abducting people from trailer parks? You'd think they'd go for a senator or two for some real insight to how things run. Here's a thought. What if it's the cats? Think about it. Cats are everywhere. They've got 9 lives, and they never seem to care about anything. They could be the ultimate rulers, just lounging around, letting us think we're in charge while they plot world domination from atop our couches. But let's get real for a second. Maybe the truth is, no one's really in control. Maybe we're all just stumbling through this mess, with each of us having a little bit of power in our own little corners of the world. Maybe the president is just as confused as we are. The deep state is just a bunch of bureaucrats arguing over coffee orders, and the Illuminati is just a book club that got out of hand. In the end, maybe it's chaos itself that's in control. We're all just players in this game of life, trying to make sense of it, hoping our turn ends with a high score rather than a game over. But hey, if you find out that it's actually the squirrels running the show, do let me know. I've got some nuts I'd like to negotiate with. So until next time on the Watchman News, keep your eyes on the skies, your mind open, and remember, if you see a cat in a suit, just do what it says. So anyway, we're going to go a little deeper into this evening. No, I don't. I don't buy the chaos theory and all that. I want to make that up front real quick before we go any further. I don't believe that we're just here and we're all just stumbling around and all that. No, I don't believe that for a second. We're gonna dive into it a little bit more. Before we get to that, though, had an incredible conversation last night with somebody that I have thought very highly of ever since the very first and the only time that I've physically met him. And the man is just incredibly smart. I mean, that's even not doing him justice. And I say that, and this is going to sound kind of funny, but that time that I saw him, he was sitting on a toilet bowl playing music. I'm not even kidding. We had when I was back flying ultralight airplanes, we had a fly-in, a Father's Day fly-in, I believe it was 2011, out at the airfield. And we had a band come out and perform. They were named the Prairieland Rebels. And boy, did they do a kick-ass job. They really did a kick-ass job. But the showman that truly stole the show was, he goes by Dick Milkman. I know his real first name, but I'll just refer to him by his Facebook name. And, and he seriously sat atop a toilet bowl and performed. Not only sitting on a toilet bowl, but barefoot. It was great. It was absolutely wonderful. And as far as quality of musician, he's incredible. And that made for a really, really good night. And so, anyway, while we were talking on the phone, we talked about the airfield. And he let me know about something that I was completely oblivious to. And I have tried now, going on a full 24 hours, to try to, I don't know, figure this out. I don't know if I've ever been thrown for so much of a loop in like this in this direction in my life. I'm at a loss. And in many ways, disappointed as well. I have to say that. I'm highly disappointed. The gentleman that, maybe I should change how I say that now. Nah. The gentleman that taught me how to fly is no longer... Well, he's always going to be a gentleman, but now he would probably prefer to be referenced as a gentlewoman. Does that kind of make things add up? And at first, when Mr. Milkman was telling me about this, I was like, nah, you got the wrong guy. I mean, you got to have the wrong guy. And so, sure enough, I looked up, because he told me, no, it's right on his Facebook, his airpark Facebook. And I'm like, you got the wrong guy, dude. And he's like, no, dude, it's a fat woman-looking thing. And I'm like, well, first of all, I mean, he wasn't a small guy, but he wasn't fat. He's gained some weight and some boobies. I'm not kidding. And, I just don't know what to think. I really don't. It just totally blows my mind. He was a little different, but not that different, and he wasn't different in that way. If I were to give you my opinion of what I thought of him, he's a nice guy, aside from I would describe him as a bit childish. It was all about his toys, and that's where he put his focus. Whatever he wanted to do at that particular moment is where he put 100% focus. And it was, I think, frustrating for several people. For one, I bought a plane from him, And he's like, "Oh, anytime you want to work on that, we'll get that thing done." And he sold me the plane, and it was pretty hard getting them together to help me on this plane. I certainly, I had helped him put together 3 aircraft in a scrunch time kind of thing. We had, I think it was a month, to assemble 3 aircraft so that they could get their airworthiness certificates, and we did it. We were successful on all 3 aircraft in like a month's time. That was crazy. We put in some long hours. Well, then came time for my plane. I had an American Airlines Falcon that I had bought from him, and man, let me tell you, it took a long while to get started on that. It was not okay. The reason I mentioned that I helped him put together 3 planes is because I'm telling you, I don't feel comfortable putting together a plane, especially one that I'm not familiar with. And, I kind of wanted him looking over my shoulder, making sure I didn't do nothing stupid. But, anyway, we almost got it ready. It was, literally hours worth of work away from starting its test flights. And unfortunately, I had to sell it. But, anyway, yeah, I verified that from the Facebook page, and I just, holy cow. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if there was a divorce or something involved, and maybe possibly partially midlife crisis. I don't have a clue. But I am highly disappointed, because that's one thing homie don't play. I won't play that. And neither will Mr. Milkman. He said once he caught on to what was going on, he, stopped following the page and stuff. I stopped following it a long time ago, as well as I unfriended the gentleman, now Gentle-It. I unfriended them. And this might blow your mind, because I was tired of hearing about Trump. This was during the first, when he was elected, when he was in office, and it was just Trump this, Trump that, Trump everything, Trump, and, I'm sorry, he's not my savior, and I'm not going to put him up on that pedestal. And it was so annoying and so common, I'm like, I can't even look at this crap anymore. And so I just unfriended him so I wouldn't have to see it. I didn't say nothing to him. I didn't, lash out. And there was another thing. I think I contacted him because at the time I think I was looking into building my own drone. And I had contacted him because he does RC stuff. And he never even replied to me. It's like, okay then. And between the two, tired of hearing about Trump all the time, and the fact that, again, he always had time for his toys, but never had time, and unless he happened to be right there already in that direction, really didn't have time for others. So that is what it is. But I want to talk more about the subject tonight, about who's really in control. 1 second. Let me have a sip of coffee. I am constantly hearing about this, and it's driving me nuts. So, first off, I want to say as you know, the joke I started out with, that's from AI. Everything that you see of the image, that's all AI. I know, the devil. I'm going to get to that. And I do think that I'm going to start doing some videos, some biblical videos. And guess what? Guess who's writing the script? AI. So here's my take. I know that there is concern, myself included, that AI either is or could lead to being maybe even Satan itself. And I'm not quite sure it's going to be Satan. But here's the thing. I learned long ago about fighting fire with fire. And I will absolutely 100% use technology that they provide us against them in a heartbeat. Because that's one hell of a tactic. Same thing if we're toe-to-toe and you're fighting me. I'm going to use your body and your movements against you. You take a shot at me, that's going to hurt you, not me. Because I know how to use your body against you. It's just a tactic that I have known and used my entire life. It works. Why change it? So, I wanted to say that because I don't want anybody to think that, oh, look at what he wrote. No, I didn't write this. It is absolutely 110% accurate, but I didn't write it. So I just wanted to be clear on that. I don't want to mislead anybody, especially because the first video I'll probably be coming out with will be about lying. So, I'm about halfway done with it, so I have to work with learning the workflow of how I'm going to make these videos. So, and hopefully doing so without putting stupid amounts of time into each and every one, because man, that can be a little bit of a workload. Patrick found out about Adobe Premiere. It's a very deep software program, and even to do a little thing takes quite a bit of doing. And so I got to find a workflow that's not going to take too long, and that I'm comfortable with, and that looks what I feel good enough. So keep an eye out for that. Let me have a couple sips, a couple of vapes. We'll get in because I've got a couple of things to read. I've got 2 takes on this. So I figured that would be really interesting, right? Okay. Now, this first one is going to be a Christian take. Okay, the second one that I go through will actually be, I asked for a Hebrew take, but it kind of gave me more of a Jewish theology than what I would say Hebrew. They're close-ish, okay, so bear with that. They're close-ish. So let's start with the, well, I guess first I need to talk about what we're talking about. It's not just about who's in control. So I'm constantly hearing all the time, and it drives me crazy. God is in control. God is in control. And I don't know what Joel Osteen episode that they got that from, but that is not true. It's not true. In an overarching sense, it is, but in a earthly sense, in an earthly realm, it's not. And I'm going to define that. Again, this first one's the Christian take. I want to delve into a topic that's both profound and controversial. The biblical perspective on who is truly in control of the world at this moment. Now, before we start, I must remind you that this is an exploration of interpretations rather than a declaration of doctrinal truth, okay? I don't know if they put that in there for the AI's sake or my sake or whose sake, but it's accurate enough. Let's start with the foundation, the Bible. In 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 4, we find a verse that's often cited in discussions about control. The God of this world has blinded the minds and the unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ. Here, the God of this world is referred to as Satan, not God. This verse has led many to ponder if Satan is indeed the one pulling the strings in our current world order. Now, it's important I will say this. It's important to hear both views, the Christian and Hebrew/Jewish view. They're really close, but they do differ a little bit, and I think that difference is important. Let's see. Now let's look at Ephesians chapter 2, verse 2, where Paul talks about the prince of power of the air, the spirit that is now at work in the sons of disobedience. This prince is traditionally understood to be Satan, indicating his influence over the world system, particularly those who do not follow the Christian path. Here, the apostle paints a picture of Satan having a significant measure of control over the secular world, influencing human behavior and societal structures. John chapter 12, verse 31 also provides insight when Jesus says, "Now is the judgment of this world. Now will the ruler of this world be cast out." This ruler is again identified as Satan, suggesting his temporary dominion over worldly affairs before Christ's ultimate victory. But what does this mean for God's sovereignty? The Bible is clear that God is omnipotent, omniscient, I can't say that word, and omnipresent, the ultimate authority over all creation. Yet the narrative seems to suggest a sort of divine allowance for Satan's rule over the world system, not in a way that diminishes God's power, but one that tests humanity's free will. Remember, in the story of Job, God explicitly permits Satan to test Job's faith, showing a controlled environment where Satan's power is limited by divine decree. This leads us to the theological concept known as the permission of evil. Some theologians argue that God allows Satan to have a temporary reign over the aspects of the world to serve a larger purpose, perhaps for the refinement of humanity, the testing of faith, or the ultimate demonstration of divine grace and redemption. However, this interpretation raises questions about the nature of God's control. If Satan is allowed to rule, does this mean God has relinquished control? Not at all. The Bible also speaks of God's overarching plan and control. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 speaks to this. And we know that And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. This suggests that even within Satan's temporary dominion, God's ultimate plan is at work, turning even evil to good. Remember what I said about using it against them, using their own technology, their own tools against them. That's exactly what I mean. Revelation gives us a clear endgame. Satan's rule is not eternal. In Revelation chapter 20, verses 2 and 3, we read about Satan being bound for 1,000 years, suggesting a future where his influence is removed and God's kingdom reigns supreme. This points to a narrative arc where Satan's control is seen as a temporary allowance within God's eternal plan rather than a permanent shift in authority. In conclusion, while the Bible does indeed suggest that Satan has some form of control over the world system, influencing behaviors, blinding minds to truth, and exercising power over the secular, this control is neither absolute nor without limit. It exists within the broader context of God's sovereignty. Satan's dominion is permitted by God, serving perhaps to highlight the contrast between darkness, light, sin, and redemption, and ultimately to showcase the depth of God's love and the breadth of his victory through Christ. So when we talk about control, we're discussing a complex interplay where Satan might have this moment, but it's all under the watchful eye and within the grand design of an omnipotent God. I thought that was pretty good and pretty accurate. I want to point out that just because someone may be doing well here on earth, somebody might be wealthy, they might be making a lot of money, they might be gaining a lot of popularity, they might be doing all these things. That is in no way, not even remotely, an indication that they're in God's favor. In fact, I would submit that a lot of cases it's the opposite. It should be pretty obvious that God's not a fan of wealthy people. And if that isn't obvious, I don't know, maybe try putting a camel through a needle's eye. I think that when people make a lot of money by involving God in any way with making that money, that is one of those moments that God is letting Satan take them as far as they're going to go, so that their true heart, their true works comes out. And I believe we see that a lot, especially with what I've been calling the YouTube televangelists. We see that a lot. These people, their egos are insane. Their vanity, insane. That is not of God. Not even a little bit. Right? What was Paul boastful about? Paul was a boastful person. But what was Paul boastful about? God. He wasn't boastful about riches. He wasn't boastful about how many concubines he had. He was boastful about the Father. It's a big difference in that. Very big difference in that. So be careful. Good things, what you see with an earthly mind as good things in your life, may be a setup. And you got to be really careful with that. I fell for it. I absolutely fell for it. Involving money. Involving physical things. Talked about my airplane earlier. Right? That was the particular time that, man, I must be looked on pretty highly from the Father, because I was bringing in quite a bit of money, to be quite honest. And I had my own little ultralight airplane. I literally, within reason, I couldn't go buy a brand new Corvette or nothing, but within reason, if I wanted something, I'd go to the store and buy it. There's nothing to it. And if I didn't have the money then, I damn well would have it within a few days. So, I must be favored to no end. It was a setup. And I failed. Miserably. I've said it before. I've called out Bear Independent a lot. And it's not because I hate the guy. In fact, it's just the opposite. He used to be incredible. Absolutely incredible. But this monster that he's turned into is insane. And while a lot of people might think that I'm condemning him or coming down on him, or he likes to talk about removing the plank from one's eye, right? Now, I'm trying to be a brother. Dude, you're out of line. Put yourself in check. And he is so far out of line. And you know what? Back when I was out of line, I wouldn't have listened to anybody. I'm just being straight up honest. It would have been futile for somebody to come to me and say, dude, you got to knock it off. I'd have thought they were nuts. Why? Because I was making good money. I was buying things that I'd never dreamed that I could ever have. I mean, an ultralight airplane? No, it's not millions of dollars. But I was raised poor, and I've never been wealthy. That's kind of a big thing for me. I thought I was doing great, and I wouldn't have listened to a damn soul that told me otherwise. And that's a fact. That's a fact. Let me have a couple of sips of coffee. We'll go over the Hebrew take. Well, Jewish / Hebrew. Little leaning heavy on the Jewish. I don't think AI really understands the difference, which I find kind of interesting on several levels. Not only interesting, I actually find it good. I honestly do. I find it good. Because how much more living apart can you be if AI can't get direct information from all of the interwebs? This is from the stuff I'm going over. It's from Twitter's Grok, X, whatever you want to call it. It's from their Grok. I'm not using ChatGPT for this. And it is really up to date because I was playing around with it today and asking it stuff that involved like latest breaking news stories and stuff, and it was on it. It was like right on the very latest of news. So that's pretty cool. ChatGPT won't do that. Copilot will, but not as good, I don't believe, as what Grok does. I'm sucking the coffee down tonight. I had to slow down earlier because I drink 2 cups. I drink one before the show and one during the show. Now, normally, to be real honest, don't get a lot drink during the show. I'm already halfway empty. Oh, goodness. Alright, round 2. Fight! No, this is more the, Hebrewish. Hebrew Jewish? I can't do it. Hebrewish? Yeah, Hebrewish. Hebrewish take. Let's see. I'd like to explore a topic that often bridges and sometimes divides Abrahamic faiths. The notion of control and the role of Satan, or as termed in Hebrew, Ha-Satan, and I'm not exactly sure how that's pronounced, in our world today. In Judaism, the concept of Satan is quite different from the Christian view. The Hebrew Bible, or the Tanakh, does not represent Satan as an ultimate adversary of God with independent power and authority over the world. Instead, Ha-Satan, which means the adversary or the accuser, appears as a member of God's heavenly court, acting under God's permission and authority. Interesting, huh? The most well-known depiction of Ha-Satan is in the book of Job, where he appears to be as a prosecuting attorney in the divine court, challenging Job's righteousness, but only with God's consent. Here, Ha-Satan does not act independently, but tests Job on God's behalf, showing that his role is not one of opposition to God, but rather as an agent carrying out God's will. This portrayal underscores that in Judaism, God is always in control and how Satan's actions are within the framework of divine permission. In Zechariah, chapter 3, verses 1 and 2, how Satan is again an accuser, standing to oppose the high priest Joshua, but doing so in the presence of God. This further illustrates the idea that how Satan's power is limited and subordinate to God's sovereignty. The Talmud, which that is Jewish. Hebrew does not follow that. In fact, I will go as far as to say I condemn it. The Talmud. The Talmud and other Jewish mystical texts like the Zohar expand on this, sometimes describing Satan as an embodiment of the Yetzer Hara, or the evil inclination, which exists within humans. This isn't about Satan controlling the world, but rather about human nature and the constant battle between good and evil inclinations that we all face. See the difference? Here, and by the way, that's not Hebrew. That is not a Hebrew belief. That is Jewish. Here, control is more about personal responsibility and moral choice rather than an external force dictating human fate. Moreover, Maimonides, a significant Jewish philosopher, posits that Satan, like the evil inclination, serves a purpose in God's plan, to challenge individuals to choose righteousness, thereby refining their character. This perspective does not see Satan as in control, but as a part of the divine mechanism for human growth and moral testing. When we look at the broader Jewish narrative, the idea that Satan has control over the world does not align with the traditional teachings. Control, in the Jewish sense, is about God's omnipotence and humanity's free will within the divine plan. Evil exists not because Satan has dominion, but because humans have the freedom to choose, and with that freedom comes the potential for good or evil. In the end, Jewish theology emphasizes that God is in control, and even when we experience evil or adversity, it's understood within the context of divine justice, mercy, and the ultimate goodness of God's plan. The narrative is one where God's sovereignty is never in question, and how Satan's role is to refine, test, and ultimately serve the divine purpose. So I thought that was pretty good. It definitely shows you the differences in beliefs. I would say that Hebrew, actual Hebrew, is a little bit of a mix of the two. I think it leans much more towards the Christian view, but I do believe, and this is my opinion, that it's Hebrew beliefs that it is Satan working within God's confines. So, while God ultimately is the one in control, right now, on this earth, Satan is allowed to mislead us any way which we will fall for. And I think that's his job. That's why I think self-awareness and the ability to self-identify when you're screwing up is very important. It's also why I think it's important to wear the tzitzit. I really do. I think that they are not only a good reminder for you yourself about following the will of God, but it's also about others. Because there's a lot of people that will see you with the little tassels hanging from your belt loops, and they'll ask you about them. What the heck is that? And then you have the great opportunity right then and there and say, what is this? This is my promise to the Father. This is my promise that I will always follow His commands. This is actually commanded to you in the book of Numbers. And it opens up that doorway to have that discussion. So I would posit that in many cases, that it is just as important, not more, but just as important for others to see those and inquire about them, because in today's society it's not a common practice. Back in biblical times, I'm sure everybody knew what it was. But today, not so much. I can remember seeing before, not very often, but I do remember seeing people that had tzitzit on throughout my life. Not a lot. But I do remember wondering what the hell they were. I never asked. But I did wonder what they were. Now I know. Now I wear them. So it's good stuff. And I think Grok did a really good job of defining that. I would go on further to say that as humans and as citizens of the United States, it's important for us to not fall for the traps the government puts before us. And whether that be by mandate, jabby, or whether that be going into a career of, a political career and doing ungodly things to further yourself in that career. I mean, this encompasses all of life. Be careful about those traps, because they're sometimes really good ones. They're sometimes really, really good ones. And there's a lot of times that I'll see a trap laid before me. Nope. Not happening. Not happening. I'm very careful of that now. Before, not so much. Why? Because I've had to been doing right. I was making good money. I was getting the things I wanted to have. I mean, checking all the boxes, if you will. I had to be doing good. No, each step was just another part of that trap until I was so caught up in my own web that I had to ask the Father for forgiveness and to help me out of it. And it's been a long journey. And the day I take my last breath, I'll probably never make it back completely to the where I was. And even in a good sense. I'm not talking about the money, I'm not talking about the possessions, I'm talking about everything. I don't know if I'll ever see my children again. And I have to give that to the Father. I hope it's within His will. I really do. But I am limited by that. His command to me on that matter is be still and let Him work. So whatever that means. You know, He commanded Abraham to put Isaac on that altar and to sacrifice him. That's something that I think about a lot. And then at the very last moment, the Father provides a ram to sacrifice instead of Isaac. And the story goes much deeper than that, because see, Abraham couldn't even have children. So the fact that he even had Isaac was only by the grace of God and the intervention of God. Very interesting story. Highly recommend people really dig into Abraham. I highly recommend people dig into Job. There's really important lessons in both of those. When all of that happened to me, I didn't just lose my family. I didn't just lose my possessions. I lost myself. I told you I was caught up in a web that only the Father could have gotten me out of. I asked for His forgiveness. He told me I damn well better, didn't use those words, but I damn well better listen to what He had to say. He's had my undivided attention ever since then. And I mean that. We live in a very, very quiet home. Why? Because I want to make damn sure that if the Father's got something to say, I can hear it. I want to make damn sure of that. And it's not all about ambient noise and all of that. No, but it's about my ability to concentrate and focus and be at peace. And if I've got a bunch of nonsense going on, well, that takes away from those things. So, I'm good with living as calmly and quietly as I can and giving that just to make sure that I can hear Him at a moment's notice. I think we're all supposed to be doing that. Remember, we're supposed to be putting Him above everything. Everything. Man, I'm not exaggerating when I say if I go to purchase something, no matter how big, no matter how small, I take it to the Father first. Take it to the Father. And no, He doesn't always answer me. Oh, okay, you can... We may be getting a little bit of Christmas loot. I know we don't celebrate Christmas, but nonetheless, other people do. And socks. I'm not kidding. I do not have a pair of socks that don't have holes in them. That is like top of my list to get. Socks and underwear that actually fit my scrawny ass. Because my ass got awful scrawny, man. And I've got like medium. Not that you guys care, I hope. But I've got like medium underwear, right? And I swim in them. Not because I'm not in doubt at all, but because, for one, I hate these frickin' things. This type of... God, I'm just going to leave this subject alone. How about we do that? Because the next step to tell you the kind of a... Nah, we'll just leave this alone. No, I don't wear thongs. Get that out of your mind. Um, I'm a small guy. I've always been a small guy, and so I have to buy clothes that will work with that. A small guy with no ass. Always been a small guy with no ass. So, it is what it is. Maybe the father built me to be able to crawl underneath the crawl space of mom and dad's old house out on Highway 40. So I could shimmy my way up to the front bathroom to fix the pipes for the old man. Maybe that was some purpose. I doubt it, but it worked for Dad anyway. Oh, goodness, goodness, goodness. I don't have news per se, and there's actually quite a bit of news. Apparently, a truck carrying acid falls in the river in deadly bridge collapse. I just saw this just now. Oh, in Brazil. Wow. Wow. Not good. There's lots of news here, though. Trump apparently had threatened Panama with taking the canal. So Panama replied, and you're not gonna take our canal, right? It's crazy. You know what? That man, I will say, he gets stuff done. And he's not even in office yet. You realize how much stuff Trump has got done, and he's not even in office yet? It's incredible. It really is. No, I'm not. Like I said earlier, I don't put him up on that pedestal. Why? Because he's just a man. But out of anybody that... I can't say out of anybody that I know, but anybody that's in that circle, if you will, he's our best shot. I would argue that Ron Paul would be light years better, but, you know, we didn't have a Ron Paul choice. And the times that we did have a Ron Paul choice, we didn't have enough common sense in society to make that man president. So, can't do nothing about that. He would have been a really good choice. My dad, he rooted a lot. I remember that. My dad, he didn't go on about politics or anything a whole lot that I recall. But he did about Perot. Man, did Dad want Perot in office. And I understand why. I get it. I get it. Anyway, like I said, I don't really have anything news pulled up or anything like that. Ukraine, Russia, they've been trading punches. The U.S. and what was it, UK, bombed Yemen a couple of times. A U.S. plane, an F-18, was taken down. Not 100% clear. The media says it was taken down by one of our ships. I believe it's the Houthis said that they took it down. So, who knows? Both pilots ejected safely. Minor injuries. They have been recovered, minor injuries. So that's good news. It's crazy. Crazy. I'm looking at a headline here. Poland threatens to arrest Netanyahu at Auschwitz. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Musk proposes cognitive test for U.S. officials. I'm 110% behind that. Without a doubt. So there's a lot. There's talk that the U.S. could quit the WHO on Trump's first day, which I'm sure many of us don't have an issue with that. Again, there's been quite a bit of news, but none of it that I can sit here and be like, oh my goodness, I've got to talk about this. I mean, it's just the world churning on. So, we're going to be seeing a lot of that. Now, I got one more thing to talk about before I close. Last night, when I was having that discussion with Mr. Milkman, we talked a little bit about this drone situation. And his thoughts are that it's let's say, the two sides of government battling each other. And that, in his opinion, that there are individuals, what we would normally call like the deep state, the Biden and company, that are trying to conduct a false flag event before inauguration. And while I always remain skeptical, always, no matter the conspiracy theory, no matter how cool or how good it sounds, I will always approach it with skepticism. And because I'm not doing anybody any due justice, including myself or the Father, if I don't. Anyway, his thoughts are that that it could be, again, deep state trying to pull some trickery before Inauguration Day. And the good guys with the drones, that is, the good guys with the drones, trying to catch it ahead of time. So, I give that theory just as much credence as I do a lot of the others. But it is something definitely to watch for. It's something to put in the back of your head, especially if we see some kind of big major event pop up before Inauguration Day. We'll see. We'll see. It's definitely interesting times for sure. With that, I'm going to get out of here and go snuggle with a big black Doog and hopefully have a restful evening. So I hope you have a restful evening as well. God willing, we will see you tomorrow night. As always, shalom.